I always said Ferrari would never build an SUV.
I would genuinely and for real far rather have a Dacia Duster and a house.
Ferrari shares slumping this morning.
And if they ever built an electric one,
There it is. The 5-seat model is priced at a mere $640,000.
This is Ferrari's first ever electric car, but it doesn't even look like a real Ferrari.
I think this is a very important day. I was looking for this day
that would be the beginning of the end.
since 5 years. It's the day when we open a new chapter in our history book.
What have they done? I muttered those words about 20 times under my breath when I walked into the arena, the hall, where we saw Ferrari Luce for the first time.
Ferrari invited 200 journalists to the reveal, and the first thing Ferrari did was seal their phones. Anyone who leaked something early faced a fine of 600,000 euros. Everyone had to use Ferrari's own equipment, and staff surrounded the room watching the journalists the whole time. Not even the Enzo launch was locked down like this, neither was the LaFerrari's. 4 doors, 5 seats, 0 combustion. When market opened the next morning, Ferrari stock had dropped 8% in under 48 hours. Almost $5 billion gone. At a company that had just reported its best year in company's history. For 80 years, Ferrari built the most exclusive company in the world by making less than everyone wanted. Right now, it's more profitable than ever. And this video is going to show you exactly how it could destroy the one thing that made all of it possible in the first place. Before we get to what's breaking right now, you need to see what's actually worked. Because everything after this only makes sense once you understand the machine Ferrari built. There's a line that followed Enzo Ferrari for decades, repeated so often by dealers and former executives that it's practically became company's doctrine. Build one car fewer than market demands, not the same number, fewer, on purpose. That one decision is the entire business model. Ferrari ranks customer instead of competing for them. Buy your first Ferrari and you enter an allocation system, and your position rises mainly through loyalty, measured by how many cars you already own and how long you have waited without complaining. New money starts at the back of the line. At the top of the hierarchy sit about 600 collectors, the only people on earth who get the first access to Ferrari's most extreme hypercars, the Iconas. Even if you had $3 million ready for a Ferrari, you couldn't get one. Robert Cialdini, the psychologist behind the bestseller Influence, named scarcity decades ago as one of the core drivers of human persuasion. People don't want things because they are valuable. They decide things are valuable because they are hard to get. Ferrari's EBITDA margins sit at 38 to 39%. Porsche, one of the best run automakers in the world, runs at about half that. Lamborghini and Aston Martin trail even further behind. And Aston has spent most of the last decade in the red. On the margin alone, Ferrari behaves more like a Swiss watchmaker. In 2023, a collector from Houston named Todd Carlson bought Purosangue. Ferrari's contracts restrict early resale specifically to protect the hierarchy I just described. Carlson sold early anyway. Ferrari's own dealers sued him for it. This is a company using its own legal system to defend the idea of scarcity. Keep that in mind. It's going to matter again before the video is over. Enzo Ferrari founded the company in 1947 on a line that's almost the opposite of how most automakers think. He didn't say he built cars, he said he sold engines. And the car around them was basically a bonus. 4 years later, Ferrari partnered with design house Pininfarina, and for the next 60 years, almost every road car wearing prancing horse was shaped by that relationship. The Testarossa, the F40, cars that hung on the bedroom walls of entire generation of kids who never sat in one. Ferrari ran an internal design competition and chose its own team over Pininfarina. 60 years over. Former chairman Luca di Montemello has spoken publicly since then about where he believes the design language lost its restraint.
Dire quello che penso farei del male alla Ferrari. Si rischia la distruzione di un mito. Mi dispiace moltissimo.
Ma lo possiamo dare?
Spero che si tolga il cavallino almeno da quella macchina. Questa sicuramente è una macchina che almeno i cinesi non ci copieranno. Non avranno.
Montemello didn't go quietly either. He stepped down as chairman in September 2014. And the departure was widely reported as a direct clash with Fiat's holding company and its CEO Sergio Marchionne over one specific idea: taking Ferrari public. Montemello lost that fight. Marchionne took over, and his plan was clear from the start: take Ferrari public, maximize shareholder value, grow revenue. A year later, in October 2015, Ferrari did exactly that and listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
This is what Ferrari are doing, or Fiat are doing. They're taking a piece of their business, they're extracting value via an IPO. That was sort of a little bit...
Pricing at the top of its initial public offering range at $52 a share and zooming higher at the start of trading on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker RACE.
How is Ferrari not going to destroy the brand like Maserati's doing right now?
This is the moment worth sitting with, because it's easy to miss how much actually changed here. A racing team that sold road cars on the side became legally and financially a luxury company, answering to shareholders every 90 days. Profit and shareholder value moved to the top of the list. Everything else, quality control, customer relationships, design restraint, now had to fight for the space underneath. None of this looks like a mistake on its own. Design competition and IPO, both defensible, both easy to explain in a boardroom. But you are going to want to remember this section later, because this is actually where the story starts, not with the Luke. In 1991, under Montemello, Ferrari built about 4,500 cars a year. Today, that number is closer to 14,000. Scarcity doesn't survive shifting your volume, or does it? This is a different company now. The price ladder tells the same story from a different angle. An entry-level Ferrari today starts at around 250,000 euros. The Purosangue, Ferrari's 4-door model, sits at around 400,000. The new Luke starts at 550,000. The Purosangue is the test case for everything that happens later in this video. So let's start there. When Ferrari announced it, the company kept insisting that this wasn't an SUV. Fans didn't believe it, and the backlash was loud. Then it went on sale and sold out. Here's a number worth reading slowly. In 2023, Vigna said that about 30% of Ferrari's new buyers were under 40. By 2025, he updated that number to 40%. If they know their customer base is getting younger, you would expect them to design cars that speak to that group. Instead, they are doing the opposite. The exact age group is now turning against Ferrari over its design and its current lineup. And it's not just cars. Ferrari's lifestyle business, licensing, fashion collaboration, branded restaurants grew 22% year over year through 2025. Ferrari doesn't just sell cars anymore, it sells the idea of Ferrari, packaged and licensed in the direction Enzo would never have touched. In 2021, Ferrari hired Benedetto Vigna as CEO. Vigna spent his career at STM Microelectronics, building semiconductors. Outsider CEOs are not new, and sometimes they are exactly what a company needs. But there's a pattern worth naming. Keep hiring executives with no feel for the product, and eventually one of their bets breaks the very thing that made the product valuable in the first place. The question is whether Vigna is that bet or the exception. In 2022, at Ferrari's Capital Markets Day, Vigna announced a target: 40% of the lineup fully electric by 2030. Investors loved it, and the stocks climbed. Then, in October 2025, that 40% target got quietly cut to 20%, with none of the fanfare of the original announcement. The market's reaction was anything but quiet. Ferrari stock dropped 16% in a single day, its steepest one-day loss since the IPO. About 13.5 billion euros were wiped out. At the same event, Ferrari also revealed the car's original working title, Electrica, along with a new target, 9 billion euros in revenue by 2030. By that point, hybrid already made up 51% of everything Ferrari shipped. This wasn't Ferrari resisting electrification. It had been happening quietly for years, one hybrid at a time, long before anyone had heard the word Luke. The Luke wasn't rushed. Ferrari and the design studio LoveFrom built it in secret for 5 years. LoveFrom is not any company. It's Jony Ive's company. The man behind the iPhone, the MacBook, the Apple Watch. Working here alongside co-designer Mark Newson. One detail almost nobody talks about. Apple spent nearly a decade, and by some reports $1 billion a year, on its own car project, codenamed Titan. It poached thousands of engineers from Tesla and battery makers. In 2024, Apple killed the project. 2 years later, the closest thing the world will ever get to an Apple car showed up, wearing a prancing horse instead of a bitten apple. The reveal itself split the room, literally. Tech YouTubers including Marcus Brownlee got exclusive access and even got to drive the car, but he's a tech YouTuber. Chris Harris, on the other hand, one of the most respected automotive journalists working today, someone who's driven nearly every Ferrari made in the last 2 decades, wasn't invited at all. Before we get serious again, one detail deserves its own moment because it's genuinely strange. According to Vigna,
too much, because sometimes it's disturbing our brain, right? Okay, and we need a lot of study with different medical center and also with NASA.
The reason the car's instant electric torque was reportedly so physically disorienting that Ferrari wanted outside expertise on what that kind of acceleration does to a human brain. A supercar maker called NASA because its own car might be too fast for the human head to process. And all that drama just for, the Luke. On paper, if you block out everything else for a moment, the Luke is genuine engineering achievement. Over 1,000 horsepower, 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds, 120 kWh battery, 500,000 euros to start. Whatever else you think of it, it's not a lazy car. Marquez even said it drives well. But if you wanted a faster electric car, you already had a Lucid or a Tesla to choose from. Lucid's dealing with its own trouble right now, so I will probably make a video on that as well. Within 48 hours, Ferrari stock had dropped 8%. Nearly $5 billion gone. the number I opened this video with. But that number only tells you what happened, it doesn't tell you why. 3 weeks after the reveal, Ferrari's chief marketing officer, Enrico Galleria, a 16-year veteran of the company, left. Ferrari bought in Massimiliano di Silvestre, previously at BMW Italy, as his replacement. Sit with the timing for a second. The person whose entire job was protecting how the world sees this brand was gone within the week of the company's biggest launch going publicly, visibly wrong. I wouldn't be doing you any favors showing you only one half of this, because there's a real argument that everything you just watched isn't a reason to worry at all. Start with Carlos Sainz, Ferrari's own Formula 1 driver, who recently said buying a Ferrari beats leaving your money in the bank. It's a great line. It's not entirely true anymore, at least not evenly. In 2025, a Ferrari 296 GTS with just 1,300 miles on the clock sold at auction for $130,808, below its original listing price. A car with 1,300 miles, barely broken in, and it had already lost a six-figure sum. But the strongest version of the optimistic case rests on three things that are hard to argue with. Ferrari's order book already stretches into 2027. Margins remain the best in the entire auto industry, not just among the best, the best. Ferrari isn't even the first company to run this exact play and survive. Porsche faced nearly the same backlash in 2002 when it launched its first SUV, the Cayenne. The purists said Porsche was betraying everything it stood for. CEO Wendlin Wittking pushed ahead anyway, and the Cayenne didn't just sell. It became Porsche's best-selling model and is widely credited with pulling companies back from the edge of the bankruptcy. There's a real chance that Luke follows the same path, but I don't think that's possible with Ferrari's badge on it. In the days after the backlash, Vigna went offensive with the press. He insisted the Luke was, in his own words, seeing strong interest from buyers and that it had nothing in common with other electric cars on the market. Vigna's own defense comes down to a single idea. In his words, that Ferrari transformation has to be handled with the word called respect, which is not what it's been getting on social media since. I don't think this is the end for Ferrari. I also don't think Ferrari fixes itself. The solutions aren't complicated. They are just uncomfortable, because most of them mean giving something back. Design also needs real authority back in-house, not just a studio with a new name filling the space Pininfarina used to hold. Montemagno's criticism was never about electrification. It was about restraint, and restraint is a design discipline. It's also about who's actually in the room when a car goes to the market. Hiring outsiders like Vigna is not automatically wrong. What's missing is someone with real automotive instinct who has the authority to say no. And underneath all of it sits the hierarchy itself. The Purosangue and the Luce can both exist in the lineup, but only if the pricing and allocation actually makes them a good choice, or even worthy of being Porsche cars. Status symbols in their own right. Get all of that right, and the order book, the margins, the myth survives together. Get it wrong, and Ferrari ends up as just another well-known luxury automaker with a badge people once used to queue up for. Look at the social media reactions to the Luke and ask yourself honestly whether that looks like a car that belongs on a bedroom wall. Ferrari used to be the poster car. Sit with this question: does the Luce or the Purosangue or anything in Ferrari's current lineup still earns that status? If you are the investor, the margin is really the best in the industry right now. That's not in question, but a brand strategy built on diluting the exact thing that justified those margins isn't a risk for today. It's a risk that shows up years later, and by the time it appears in a quarterly report, it may already be too late to reverse it cheaply. And here's where I leave you. The same brand that spent decades suing its own customers to protect its identity is now the one doing that identity the most damage from the inside. The real question was never whether Ferrari built a bad car. It's whether a brand built entirely on scarcity and myth can survive being run like a normal company.